Hey there. Hi. So now we're going to talk about lateral thinking. So this is the lecture about thinking widely. Think lateral thinking. I don't know how else to explain it. Hmm. How do you explain lateral thinking? Ding, 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 ding. Oh, how do you do that? So it's tough, isn't it? Lateral. What does lateral really mean? So lateral means seeing it in a more broad perspective. Lateral is seeing things this way, not this way. That's what lateral is. Now it's coined by, or I would say lateral thinking is not a new term, but Edward de Bono really defined lateral thinking as horizontal thinking. Now let's get into that. Edward de Bono wrote the book on lateral thinking and addressed a number of things in the creative process. Basically, lateral thinking is about expanding your peripheral view. It's how you see things also is very important, that aligns with the way you're thinking. The thinking process complexity, now we have covered in the introduction. We're saying that creative thinking is to do with the imagination, and then there's the workflow of the creativity, the creative process. But then you also have how you coin the right questions, or how you start to engage in create critical thinking as well. Is also one of the important processes of the creative workflow. But there's also the other thing: how do you organize your arguments, and how do you organize your thinking? And first step is first, let's think laterally. Now, what does this actually mean? Now, there are two things we're going to talk about: lateral thinking and six thinking hats. Now, lateral thinking, one of the things in Bono's books that aligned with thinking laterally means, is to do with divergent and convergent thinking. Divergent thinking is to think laterally, because you're looking at many points of view, many perspectives, and once you're able to see that, you have managed to get information, or make your idea a little bit more valid and verified, because you're seeing it from different perspective. It strengthens the outcome of your ideas. It strengthens the idea itself, and that's what makes it work. So it's trying to understand arguments, again, not reacting of being by overly being critical, or just being an emotional attack or anything like that, but therefore organizing your thinking. Think first before reacting. So therefore, when you think laterally, you really engage in a very good way of thinking. So let's talk about the six thinking hats. Now, the six thinking hats is one of the very famous methodology that's aligned with lateral thinking, and this is where we could get into. So it's basically the ability to create an analogy, or to organize your arguments into six different areas, okay, and being able to make your ideas a bit more valid. Now, it's to do with producing a mental image and categorizing your arguments. So, and generating a representation. So, for example, let's get into it. There are six colors. There are six hats and six colors, and each color represents, well, basically this is a mental image. When it comes to a hat, you're seeing yourself wearing a hat, but you're also seeing an image of a hat, and there are six different colors. Now, the green hat is called the creative hat. Now, whenever you engage in a creative process, you just love to explore and just poof it, and quantify ideas, like that's part of the fluency part, right? You just want to get quantifying the ideas, lots of different ideas. So the green hat is playfulness. This character Mask, he's a very playful character. And he's called the Mask, right? The Mask, Mask. So he puts his the original character, Mr. Ipkiss, is Stanley Ipkiss. I don't know what Ipkiss, something like that. But anyway, he was kind of like a very weak guy who's lack of confidence and things like that. Who just couldn't find creative solutions himself and whatever. But the moment he put on this mask, he becomes this person. Apparently, he's the god of mischief or something. So he just comes up with all kinds of things. So so there you go. He's so creative, right? Now, what about the red hat? Now, for example, the red hat is to do with emotion, like how do you react to that idea emotionally? How do you feel about the idea emotionally? And it's all about like yeah, it's all about that. It's all about emotion. It's about reacting, about the heart. Okay, how does it react to the idea emotionally? What about the black hat? The black hat is the negative hat. The negative hat represents the warnings. So now the black hat is to do with the negative hat. I kind of paused just now because there's something that I need to digest. So now, yeah. So now that's to do with things that don't work with the idea. Like if there's anything that's not going to work with the idea, or why that idea is wrong. So seeing things from the negative perspective. The yellow hat is the opposite of the negative of the black hat, which is a lot more positive. Yeah, just like SpongeBob right here. I can. Looking at why this idea is good, why it should be used, and so on and so forth. The blue hat is about systems. The blue hat is about how do you put your thoughts together and work out a plan? How do you figure it out? How do you make it work? What is the framework of these things? So the blue hat is to do with organization. The white hat is to do with knowledge. The white hat is to do with knowledge. All the data concerning the idea or the product, everything. If you're using the 6 hats to try to figure out a solution for a problem statement, therefore the white hat is one of the things that is dependent on, because the white hat represents all the information and data, the research and everything. Okay, and then you have, of course, the green hat. The green hat is exploring all the possible solutions, and then you have the red hat. How do you feel about those solutions? And then you have the black hat, why these solutions are not good. Then you have the yellow hat, why this solution is good. And the blue hat, if the solution is good, how do you make it work? So the 6 hats. Now the 6 hat is good to organize his argument in a team. The team of people, especially when it comes to group work, the 6 hat is very effective. So usually you engage in putting the 6 hat together in some kind of mind map. So this is how it might look like when you do a mind map. And if you apply the 6 hats into a mind map, and this is how it probably would work. How the different arguments will converge together, and how do you come up with the right solution. So it's the act of selecting and evaluating an assessment. Again, the part about critical thinking here is going to apply a lot, because you're going to have to ask the right questions again and again and again and again. You keep probing, keep investigating, keep trying to ask ask a range of questions to look at the clarity, the depth of the question, the depth of the issue, and so on and so forth. So who are you and your alter ego? This is kind of it's kind of an exercise that you can do. Who are you? What's your character and your name? It's kind of a class exercise. Usually, when we're talking about lateral thinking, this was supposed to be done in week 3, but we had Sandscape. But never mind. If this is the week 3 that you can do this, then do it. Enjoy creating your own avatar, and we will talk about creating your own avatar as an alter ego. And yeah, we will reveal that you can create your own superhero character or anything like that. And how does all those things represent you? So who are you and what's your alter ego? Something for your visual journal. Again, it's an optional exercise. Enjoy if you like to use it or do it. So use this 6 thinking hats method to present your argument. Now you can use this as your problem statement, and there you go, present your argument. So the other part of this lateral thinking is to explore synectics. Now the 6 thinking hat is a lateral way to organize your argument and to see how you can come up with the best design solution. But there's also another way, synectics. Synectics is exploring different triggers to explore your mind. How your mind can do a little bit of experimentation and manipulation. So synectics is fun. It's based on a book called Design Synectics by Nicholas Rooks. And there's also another book called Art Synectics by Nicholas Rooks. I really enjoyed reading these books because it gives you a lot of insight into what you can do with things around you. You don't really need to, it's not really an academic process per se, but it is very, very practical. It shows us that design is a very practical act. And of course, it aligns with seeing things through a more increasing your peripheral view and seeing things widely, seeing things broadly as well. So how does it work? The term synectics come from the Greek word synektikos, means bringing forth together or putting things together or manipulating or experimenting and so on. But again, creating something. Now it's about making connections as well. Intersection, also another term. You can intersect, make a connection, and so on. So creativity involves most form of innovation and creation process, correct? But this means every creative thought action draws on synectic thinking. Synectic thinking is a form of I would say, again, synectic thinking is about you challenging the conventions. So if we have looked into lateral thinking, we looked at critical thinking, we got imagination and creativity, but then you have one of the creative act. So a creative act like synectics is a creative mental act, or you can also do something more practical. So that's called synectic thinking. Now it's a process of discovering and rediscovering links that that I guess unite disconnected elements. This creative acts is to force connect things. So you don't have to always connect things which are meant to be connected, but you can put them together as a force connection, and it triggers your mind. It triggers this act of creation or act of connection. So this synectic thinking. The synectic attitude is looking at possibilities. For example, synectics encourage the ability to live with complexity and apparent contradiction. It's like living the living dead. The living dead, or the walking dead, or there's a living and the dead, and they go hand in hand together. So you have a zombie, a design that is a representation of the living and the dead. Two contradictions, paradoxical thinking, paradoxical analogy, and you can see, now that's synectic thinking, because you need to put these contradictions together, or somehow the contradictions come together and you have an opportunity to recreate something. So synaptics stimulate creative thinking. Now, because you're doing that, you're forced to solve the problem. You are problematizing the process of creating new problems through synaptic thinking. You're wondering, like, for example, if I had a phone, and if I had a wallet, and I have a phone, and the phone works fine, the wallet works fine. I don't see why we need to redesign the wallet, for example. But what if you use synaptic thinking? I got a phone, a wallet. What if I combine the phone and the wallet? What will it happen? What would happen? Now I'm creating a new problem that will stimulate my creativity. You see? So if you think that there's nothing to design, think again. What if you use synaptic thinking to create more problems? If you have, even it doesn't have to be objects. It can be the images. It can be like a poster design or anything like that. Intentionally try to do something, put two contradicting elements together and create an opportunity to design, to be creative. So it stimulates creative thinking. That's a trigger. Okay. Synaptic mobilizes both sides of the brain, the right and the left brain. The left brain is the reasoner, the right brain is more the dreamer thing. So it triggers both sides of the brain. And synaptics provide free thinking state of consciousness. Freedom to explore. That's basically what it is. Now, the synaptic ways of working is, now it's based on the fusion of opposites. Okay. Synaptics is based on analogical thinking. Can't escape that. It's also, synaptics is synergistic because its action produces a result which is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, so which means it produces a result, okay, that is a combination of things. So it can be greater than what the details are not, doesn't quite matter, but the outcome of that combination, it's more important, the purpose. So now, for example, the synaptic pinball machine. Synaptic thinking is like a mental pinball machine. Stimulus input bounced against the scoring bumpers. The trigger questions is transformed. So ordinary perceptions, okay, are turned into extraordinary ones. The familiar or prosaic is made strange. Synaptic play is the creative mind at work. Now, it's like the mental pinball machine. You take, it's like a trigger, a stimulus input, and the ball will go boom, will go ting 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 ting. So it goes through all kinds of journey into the whole thing, and then finally we get something else. So the synaptic triggers. Now, synaptic trigger mechanisms basically catalyze or create new thoughts. Yeah. So again, put yourself into that situation. Synaptic theory is based on disruptive thinking. Now, it's about disruptive thinking. Synaptics is all about that. Synaptics is, again, it's kind of stimulating your thoughts through a form of disruption. So let's look at some of the terminologies or the act of synaptics that will trigger you. Now there are 23 design synaptic triggers. Okay. Now what are they? What are all these 23 design? You can look at these terms and do a Google search or use AI to try to to understand what these terms mean. So there are things like, let's say you can use these synaptic triggers to do something. Like, for example, let's say a ping pong ball or some kind of let's say some kind of a watch. All right, so this is a watch, okay, and let's choose a word from here. Fragment. If How do I fragmentize this watch? Fragment. When I look at this watch, then I intentionally want to fragmentize it. Can I do that? What if I fragmentize it as a visual? Maybe I want to take out the face of this watch and put it somewhere, remove the straps, put the face. Maybe I can, what else? Isolate parts of the watch to its different functionalities. So you see what I mean? See what I'm doing with the watch because of the word fragment. So with the one word fragment, I am developing this. I mean, I'm just modifying this watch. It does not have to be logic, but I'm using this to generate ideas. Synectics is about generating ideas. Let's use another word. How about distort? I'm going to come up with a sound and I'm going to distort it so that it generates a little bit more uniqueness. So I'm going to purposely distort the sound. Or maybe let's distort an existing sound and see what it have. Let's distort that picture because I'm using distort as a synectic trigger. So I'm combining distort with the image and see what happens. So synectic triggers are like that. What if you distort two things together and so on? What about metamorphose? Metamorphose is transform. Can I metamorphose a cup into something and a combination of the cup and something else? Analogize, turn something into an analogy, and so on and so forth. Fantasize, mythologize, and so on. So, ways of working: identify, okay, set the problem or task, identify the subject matter, examine the subject matter, break it down and classify it, ideate, produce these ideas, generate options. What design synectic triggers can you use to generate as many ideas as possible? It does not have to be logical ideas. Yeah. Select your best option, then put your ideas into action. Realize it. Transform the imagination and fantasy into a tangible form. And then evaluate, judge the result. So this is one. Think about the new options. If there's any more gaps, go back to step number 1. Identify those gaps and then go back again. So it's a cyclical process. So this is one popular ways of working when it comes to using synectics. Now you can see the moment you use synectics, you're really thinking horizontally, you're thinking laterally as well. So isn't it a fascinating thing to do? So synectic triggers are very interesting. It really is fun. You can have a lot of fun. I mean, we can have lots of different kind of exercise. But one of the exercises that I was wanted to ask you to do is create a character as well. Like create some form of use the 23 synectic triggers and create your conceptual vigilante. A vigilante, right? Visually, it's a complete drawing, no heads, people, or cartoons. Okay, it's a complete drawing. No symbols needed as well. A conceptual vigilante with no heads, people, or cartoons, no symbol needed. So it's a conceptual vigilante. Maybe what? That's a really horrible challenge, isn't it? Well, you don't have to do this task. Maybe we'll have a different kind of class exercise task. You never know. This is something we can do in class. It can be something you can do very simple. You can do it on your own. Come up with your own kind of task to experiment with synectics. So I'll leave you to it. I'll leave you to this, and that's basically it for now. Enjoy. I'll see you in class. Take care.